Alright everyone, welcome back to another Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes video with Fat Phil, and with the STAP going farmable in the Cantina, I'm going to talk about whether you should be farming it or not, and I think there's a lot that goes into this. It's not just a simple yes or no, because not only is everybody's account different, but I think a lot of you need to consider the factors that are going to happen, not just with the STAP, but where Gungans and other things potentially go farmable in Star Wars Galaxy of Heroes. So go ahead, like and subscribe, comment down below. Let me know your thoughts. Let's get our introduction from Moonborn here. I love this thing so much, and I just hope you guys continue to appreciate how beautiful this is. Alright guys, so should you farm STAP? So let's kind of cover a few things here, and of course my BlueStacks is going to crash. Oh gosh. Alright, so while BlueStacks is crashed here, what we're going to do instead is I'm actually going to flip back over here to a screen capture that I have, because it should, like have saved, but it didn't, of course. Come on now. There we go. All right, now it's up. So this is a Google sheet that I made. So the first criteria you need to think about with the STAP is the level that your guild competes in the raid at. And what I mean is that for most guilds, right, I'd say like to get to like these ones in red here, it's a hard focus or a really hard focus. That like the amount of effort that goes into doing this per person is a lot, right? It takes a lot of work. My guild is in this level where I'd say it took a medium or like moderate amount of focus. It wasn't like I was going in and taking characters to Relic 7s and Relic 8s, but I had to go build somebody like Leia Organa, or I had to have all these other farms done to be able to really do well in this raid. And Leia was a big part of that, but there were some other things that I've had along the way that I built up that helped in this raid, like Imperial Troopers, maybe some of the other rebels. So that kind of stuff is where I say medium. In my mind, it does not take much focus at all to get to 4 million, right? You get eight attempts every single raid, right? You get 8 attempts. So to get 4 million and 500,000 per attempt is not hard, particularly when you think that a Relic 8 Han Solo and a Relic 8 Admiral Piet are capable of getting 2 million damage. Like I get 2 million damage with them without really doing anything crazy every single raid. So half of that is coming from a character I built for Executor and a character I built for Jabba. So I say low focus. Wasn't really that intensively looking at the raid, I just happened to get those guys done. So I want you to use this to kind of determine whether or not you should be going for the STAP. And I'd say that for STAP, you'd want to be looking, if your guild is in one of these 3 ranges, STAP is going to be very important. While it's not confirmed as a requirement, I feel like it not being in would be a crime against humanity at this point. So I'm going to say that it's a requirement, and if you're in this range, you should be farming it. I think up in here, I don't know that STAP necessarily breaks anything else. There's other, if you want to farm it up in this range, you've got to answer some of these other questions that are going to come when we flip back over to the game, right? So the first is, hey, what level is your guild competing in this speeder bike raid at? And then thinking that through with Naboo, that like, I would assume that my guild is going to continue to be in this medium focus with the Naboo raid, maybe even making a push here, right? Like we're not going to go down to this level. We're going to try to stay up here. So I want you just to keep that in mind. So let's get back into the game here now that it loaded. Thank you, BlueStacks, for crashing at, of course, the opportune times. So the next question to ask yourself is not about mod battles. It's about, can you use the STAP? And this is a 2-part question, right? So it's not just about, hey, like, would it be helpful if you had it at Relic 7? But if you took this thing to Relic 7, would you have a place for it? Would you have a home for it? Like my General Grievous team would benefit from me getting STAP at Relic 7. I can go invest gear into B2 at that point, and I would have a team to be able to use in Grand Arena with the STAP. For some of you, that might not be the case, that you don't have the resources that if we gave you a STAP, even at 7-star, right? Forget Relic 7 for a second. If we gave you a STAP at 7-star, would you have the resources to be able to invest into it if it was warranted? Obviously, I'm not going to sit here and say you should be putting, taking this thing to Relic 7 the minute you unlock it. But do you have that option even? Because otherwise, it's probably not worth getting. Like, I have some extra resources laying around that I could, if they gave me a Relic 7 STAP today, or they gave me a 7-star STAP today, I could probably take it up to Relic 5. I could take my B2 there, and I'd have a General Grievous team, use the Datacron, all that fun stuff. So that's kind of why I'm farming it, is I have a little bit of that leeway. So not just could you get it at Relic 7 and be helpful, but if you got it at 7-star, would it be helpful to your account? And that's a big question, because I do think that for a lot of you, yes, a Relic 7 would help, but getting it at 7-star, not so much. Because it is just a GAC character. the next question that I think you're going to need to ask yourself about your account is, what is your immediate relic need, or what's your immediate signal data need? So think about where, what we get out of the cantina. So myself, right, I started farming the STAP because I don't have an immediate need for signal data or anything else in the cantina. Not that I don't need signal data, trust me, I need signal data. But my current journey guide is Bo-Katan Mandalore. And I'm miles away from being able to unlock these, to get these characters to 7-star, relics, and then eventually putting signal data on them. So because I don't have that immediate need, I always live by this mantra that I'd rather be behind on gear or like signal data than behind on character shards, because character shards do not come naturally in this game. Even think about like these Marin shards that they're dropping right now. You can say, oh, well, I didn't farm Marin, now I'm getting bonus drops for her. Yeah, great, you're getting bonus drops for Marin. I'm getting bonus drops of Kairatech. So even if they did something similar with the STAP, I'm going to hope that there's bonus drops for that. And it's a gamble. Obviously, there's a gamble. But I'm going to hope that there's a bonus drop of resources that I could take advantage of there. So I don't have this immediate need because I'm not getting held up by signal data. If you're in the middle of a Galactic Legend farm and you are a few relic levels away from starting it, STAP probably not worth farming right now. But if you're kind of in between farms, you don't have this immediate need, you're kind of just building a few things up, STAP might be a really good farm right now just to get it out of the way, because I think we're going to be approaching a point where Gungans are going to go farmable. And I feel that one of these guys is bound for the Cantina. And I know a lot of you are like, Phil, how could you say that? Like, oh, yeah, duh. But let me just back this up with a bit of information. Go back to the Inquisitors. This was the last time we got an entire new faction given to us all at once. Like, think about the Gungans, right? They've all come in all at once, brand new faction. Same thing with the Inquisitors. This brand new faction kind of given to us all at once. These 4 right here all went to hard nodes, while Fifth Brother ended up in the Cantina. So of the 5 new characters that we got for Inquisitors, 4 went to hard nodes, 1 went to the Cantina. Let's go to the, Jedi Knight Cal Kestis requirements. You think Marin, she went to a fleet node, as you guys know, because, she's, bonus drop right now, but she's a fleet node character. So she went to fleet nodes, while our Wookiee, Tarful, went to a hard node. Saw Gerrera, right, he also went to a hard node. And then for unaligned Force users, we had Seer, who went to the hard node, and Baby Cal went to Cantina. So again, 5 new characters for Jedi Knight Cal Kestis, 1 of them going into the Cantina. Still haven't seen it yet? Let's keep going here. Think of the Leia Rex. Scout Trooper went to Fleet. Princess Nisa, hard node. And then we got the 2 rebels. We got Captain Rex, who went to a hard node, and Captain Drogon went to the Cantina. So in the way I view these, the way I view these Gungan Rex, right, with all that kind of stuff in mind, all these recent things that they've done have really seemed to say, hey, we're going to send you, one of you to the Cantina. And you're like, but Phil, Bo-Katan Mandalore, like, they're all 3 on, 2 hard nodes and a fleet node. Think about this. There's only 3 characters that were released, but we got 4 Gungans. That's why that difference of 3 to 4 to me, like, they always go, like, when you think about through all the ways that they've released stuff, it seems a lot more like they tried to go hard nodes first and then kind of the Cantina release. So I think Bo-Katan, had we got another character, it would go to the Cantina. So I think, to me, that makes the most logical sense. And also, as I was saying that, when you think about the way that these characters were released, right? We got Kelleran back, right? We got that stuff. And then the next thing that was released after the Bo-Katan Mandalore requirements was the STAP. And STAP hit Cantina. So with these Gungans, I have a feeling that one of them's going to go farmable, because it seems like every 4 characters, and I'm sure if we tracked back, we could probably figure it out, that every 4 characters kind of ends up in the Cantina, which I think is really, really interesting. I don't know that that's an actual thing, but like, I'm just thinking back and it makes sense. So I think one of these guys is going to go in the Cantina. And, very long-winded way to say that. But because of that, I want to farm this thing now, because I don't have an immediate need for signal data. And when those Gungans finally do drop, not only will I need signal data, but I envision one of them being a Cantina character themselves. So I'd rather grab it now, before I end up needing it down the line, because I'll grab signal data along the way here. I'll naturally accumulate some of that signal data. Will it slow it down in the meantime? Yes. But I think if I got into the thick of it of Bo-Katan, Mandalore, and Gungans, it would be a lot harder for me to warrant farming STAP with all those other things coming down the pike, especially because I can buy signal data with crystals at a far better conversion rate, in my personal opinion, than buying the shards for the STAP. So I think that's kind of why I'm going to be farming it, and hopefully that kind of gives you guys some thoughts into whether you should be farming it. It's not so much about, oh, well, I don't, I could use it, but do you even have resources available that it makes sense? Do you have an immediate need for your signal data for a galactic legend requirement or something like that? Is your guild in a position where you're going to be needing it? More often than not, what's going to dictate your farming is where your guild's heading. And that's a whole nother video topic I need to talk about, of the way to increase your rewards and the relationship it has with your guild. But just ask yourself where your guild is. Because when we go back to this, I want to go back to this score sheet here for the raid just to show you something. When you think about like the amount, like this per attempt column here, that to get to the first box, it takes 40,000 per attempt. 320 total points, 320,000 total points, can't talk, but only 40,000 per the 8 attempts. So what I'm trying to show you is that, your per attempt numbers here, it's not hard to get into some of these boxes here, right? It's not hard to get to some of these places. And the ones I highlighted in yellow are kind of where I see like newish guilds. I'd argue that this is kind of that, like, I don't know that I'd quite say this is a mid-game guild, but this is like a real, like, this would be a decent level guild, right? Where you're probably in that 3 to 4 million galactic power range. And then once you start getting above that, like you have a low focus on the raid, you'll probably get here, right? But I'd argue that these ones here are kind of your, okay, earlier guild, mid-level guild. And then up here, you're getting into, do you focus on the raid or not? That's kind of how I view each of these box scores, right? That, like, to get to 500,000 per attempt, there's not that much work involved. To get to even 200,000 per attempt, there's not that much work involved. Now, obviously, we don't know the scoring method for the Naboo raid yet. We don't even have the requirements. But that's kind of why I'm saying, look at what your guild does now. And, like, for me, a medium amount of focus would say, hey, I should probably have the STAP at maybe Relic 5 to be able to score well in the raid. I'm not in a guild where we need Relic 8 on it. Maybe Relic 7, but, like, I don't need a massive amount of it. But I should have it. If I was down here, I'd probably not consider farming it, because I can probably make up the score from the STAP with other things that I have in my account now. So that's the end of the video, guys. Let me know your thoughts. Again, I wanted to get this out here just to give you my thoughts on it. I am farming it just to give you an update on, like, if you're still watching it, a little bit of the update here. So all my hoarded energy that I had saved up and the refreshes I did today, I got 30 total shards of the STAP. Not sure how much extra Kyrotech I got. I really wasn't paying attention. I should have been, but it seemed like it's pretty good drops. And I'm officially a whale. I did buy 2 of the marquee packs for the Gungan Phalanx. I did screen record it on my phone when I had purchased them, because I was like, oh, maybe I'll get the 330. Obviously, it didn't happen. I got a 5 and a 12, like everybody else who bought them. So, but that's going to allow me to earn some additional shards of this character throughout his marquee. And that's something that I think I wanted to do for this last Gungan, because I have a feeling that these guys, I'll be able to rush along a little bit faster. And this one, lagging behind, kind of give me some extra oomph. So that way we can at least bump Jar Jar up maybe by a month. So we'll kind of see how it all works out. Again, let me know your thoughts, guys. I love you all. May the Force be with you, and I'll see you in the next video. Cheers, my friends.